up with me. And yes, I think I figured out when it's caught up. Hi, my name is Courtney, and I am very passionate about helping women with invisible illnesses realize that you can still lead a pretty healthy and active lifestyle. It's just not going to be the one you had envisioned for yourself, but what the hell else are you going to do about it? Yeah, I'm tired today. I mean, and I don't know why I'm so tired, but I am absolutely just dragging ass tired. I got a lot done today, though. I had a pretty big project come across my desk, and it was really detail oriented, and I was having to cross reference a couple of different databases, and I didn't think I'd get it all done today, but I did. But I was tired when I started it, so now I'm just wiped out. And I'm a little late because my friend made dinner, and someone's going to make me dinner. I'm going to eat it while it's hot. But excuse me, chronic illness and social media. This is a subject that really fascinates me, and I think it's really important. So I like to talk about it every few months. But this information, by the way, is from themighty.com. It always really interests me how many times over the years, I'm a pretty passionate advocate for chronic illness, especially those so-called invisible illnesses, which, by the way, there's a whole website devoted to that. But you don't look sick. What the hell does that even mean? But anyway, as passionate of an advocate as I am, even I can be really hesitant to discuss it. I'm really good at going into, this is what's going on. I'm great at the generalities, but I'm not good at going into detail with people. One of my really good friends a few years ago, she got so frustrated with me, and she said, quit freaking telling me that you're okay. I know you're not okay. I don't want the standard answer. I want you to tell me how you're feeling. And I said, I can't. I don't want to focus on it that much. I don't want it to be, if I focus on it enough to explain it, it's too present in my mind, if that makes any sense to you. But it's always interesting how I can't tell you how many times I will have been an acquaintance with somebody for quite some time on social media, and then out of absolutely nowhere, they'll be like, oh yeah, I got insert chronic illness here. And it's like, I had no idea. And yeah, I don't want to talk about it. So let's talk about why we don't want to talk about it. We're not, the assumption is always, well, you're just looking for attention. Well, okay, I'll be real honest. Sometimes, yes, sometimes I am. Sometimes I am feeling sorry for myself, and I need to be lifted. And so I will go out and be kind of whiny about it. But generally speaking, I'm not looking for attention. We're not melodramatic. I can be, but I'm generally not melodramatic. My favorite was somebody told me once, oh my gosh, you are so ungrateful. Y'all, I came this close to being a bedridden pill popper. Don't tell me I'm not grateful. I'm one of the most grateful people you're ever going to meet, because I know how fortunate I am that I didn't end up with that life. I am blessed that I have the strength physically and emotionally to make the choice every day to get up and I work and I exercise and I take pretty good care of myself. I'm grateful for those things. I'm grateful that I have an incredible support system that I can lean on. I don't lean on them, but that's another topic. But I do have it, it is there. And I'm really grateful for that. We don't talk about it because people think that we're just being whiny. Yeah, I'll admit it sometimes, but you walk around feeling like crap 24/7. Let's see how whiny you get. I bet you'd whine a lot more than most of us do. People think we're lacking faith. No, my faith is the only thing that gets me through this crap. It's the only thing that keeps me positive. People think that we're weak. Yeah, most of the people who would say that, they wouldn't last. They wouldn't last 2 days in my shoes. They just wouldn't. And I don't. It's not because I think I'm all that. It's because this shit is hard. It took me a long, long time to get to this point. It took a lot of work to get to this point. And finally, we don't talk about it because people tend to think we're crazy, And I used to go into detail about how I feel, and you can just see people's face change, and the way that they look at you, it all changes, and you can just tell they're thinking, oh my gosh, this girl is out of her damn mind. Because if I told you what I was feeling, if I told you everything that I was feeling, you'd think there's no way in hell I could be in a good mood and carry all that around. I just don't have a lot of other choice. I don't see the point in feeling sorry for myself. I don't see the point in stomping around being mad about it. But I don't want to go into detail. Again, I'm really open about the generalities, but when it comes to the details, no, not so much. We don't like to talk about it because there's a tremendous amount of sadness involved with this. Look, our lives have changed drastically, dramatically. Simple activities are draining and exhausting. I love to take baths. And so I try to keep my bathtub certainly, but the bathroom, I like to keep it clean. I like that. That's usually my cleanest room in my house, to be real honest. And there's a lot of times when I'll go in and I'll just scour the whole thing. And then it flares me up and I'm in bed for a day and a half or 2 days. How freaking ridiculous is that? We're utterly exhausted. But every time we try to rest, all we do is beat ourselves up and feel guilty about all the things that we feel we should be doing. And then there's the joys of what we call pain insomnia, which is when you are so freaking tired and all you want to do is sleep, but you hurt too much. You know how hard it is to sleep when you can't relax? You know how hard it is to sleep? Actually, I can fall asleep usually fairly well, but I can't stay asleep. I will wake up and it'll feel, I haven't had this happen, knock wood. I haven't had this happen much in Texas, but back in Alaska, it would happen all the time. I would wake up and it would feel, and I know this sounds crazy, I don't know how else to describe it. It would feel like somebody just shoved a thick wooden stake into the bottom of my IT band just above my knee, and it would be the most horrible, searing pain. How the hell are you going to sleep through that? You can't. You can't. We're sad because we're grieving our former lives. We're often angry and bitter. I spend a lot of time. I spend a lot of time being angry and bitter. Again, I don't see the point in it. That's self-fulfilling. I don't want to be that person. So if you're the one dealing with this, don't try to deny those feelings. You have to process that. You're entitled to be pissed off. You're entitled to grieve. You're entitled to be sad. You can't live there. You can't dwell on that. What I do when I'm really struggling with my attitude and I just can't snap out of it, I just give myself 24 hours. Like, okay, the next 24 hours are going to be a huge pity party. And I just go all in. But the next day, I dust myself up. I suck it up, buttercup, and I pull my shit together and I make the best of it. Excuse my language. We grieve because this stuff is so isolating. Y'all have no idea. I'd love to have a social life. I'm very outgoing, but I've turned into quite an introvert out of necessity because going out, it's exhausting. Being around crowds, it's exhausting. People don't generally understand when we cancel plans again at the last minute. Again. I'm sorry. It's just the way it goes sometimes. So, you know what happens? You end up not making plans. I did build some friendships where they were very understanding and very empathetic. But it took a long, long time to get there. And I spent probably 10 years where I refused to make plans with anybody. I just stayed home because it was easier. I always feel like we let everybody down. We know that we can't do all the things that we used to do. We know that we can't do all the things that are expected of us. Y'all be amazed, or maybe you wouldn't, at how many people like to remind us of that. You don't need to remind us. We know. We're far more aware of it than you will ever be. And that's a lot of the guilt that we deal with. Our world shrinks so small. For several years, my only social life, truly, I befriended everybody at my doctor's offices because those were the people that I saw the most, and those were the people that I had to rely on to lift me up. That's kind of sad, but on the plus side, they all really liked me at the doctor's office because I was sincerely kind and genuinely interested in, hey, how are your kids? What y'all do last weekend? And I would always ask pertinent follow-up questions, and I developed some really good relationships with my doctor's offices. But those are relationships that really I should be building elsewhere. But anyway, we don't like to talk about it because of judgment. Oh my gosh, y'all can be so damned judgy. Especially someone like me who, you don't look sick. How can you say that? Because I don't slump around looking like an unmade bed. Would that make you feel better? Because I'm sorry, it ain't gonna happen. How we look, it's not about you, and it's not to cater to you. It has nothing to do with you. I know it's a newsflash for a lot of people. It's got nothing to do with you. We don't look sick because I refuse to slump around like that. I refuse. I'm not going to walk around looking like I feel, for goodness sakes. I just don't want to do that. Look, we get that it's hard for healthy people to understand. We get that it's hard for healthy people to cope. But you know what healthy people don't often think of? How freaking hard do you think this is on us? It's a newsflash here, kids. It's a lot harder for us than it is for you, because we're the ones dealing with the pain. Plus, we're dealing with your judgment. We keep to ourselves because we don't want to burden our loved ones. We don't want to be whiny. We don't want to be... Yeah, anyway, I could just keep ranting. We keep to ourselves because healthy people can be so freaking belittling. This is a huge problem. Now, I'm kind of a Pollyanna, and I really try to give people grace, and I try to assume that even the most inelegant, crappy comments are meant well. But, you know, oh, I hurt too. Okay, and my favorite was, you know, Courtney, everybody hurts sometimes. No shit? Really? You don't think I knew that? There is a world of difference between hurting some of the time and hurting all of the time. I hurt enough. I mean, even down here, my body is so much happier in this heat. And yes, I know it's going to be hot this summer. I'm not stupid. I'm aware of that. But my body is so much happier. My aches and pains are so much better. But I'm in pain pretty much 24/7 to some degree. I chased a diagnosis for years. Most of us chase diagnoses for years and years, if not decades. That's obviously very, very different than you hurting once in a while. Hell, it's even, you know, oh, my back hurts when I do this. Well, then don't do that. My body hurts when I just exist. I mean, what the hell am I supposed to do about it? Don't offer unsolicited advice. You know, you'd feel better if you just fill in the blank. If you just lost weight, if you just exercised more, if you just ate better, if you just, well, guess what? Again, I try to assume people mean well, but I promise you, we've had those conversations with our medical people. We don't need you to weigh in on these things. If you want to suggest something, hey, you've probably considered this, but I was reading an article and it made me think of you. And I really appreciate that kind of approach, but y'all need to suggest things. Don't tell. You have no idea what this is like. You have no idea what we go through every single day. And frankly, it's really obnoxious. Well, you would feel better if you just, well, you know what? You might feel better if you just learn to keep your damn mouth shut. I'm a little bitchy, sorry. We keep to ourselves because there's no dignity in health issues. A lot of this shit is just embarrassing. We don't, you know, a lot of this is not polite conversation. I don't want to discuss it with anybody. We keep to ourselves because of a fear of rejection. Like I said, I spent over 10 years where I hardly went out at all. I wouldn't make plans with anybody because I didn't want to deal with the attitude. And I didn't want to make friends because I didn't, you know, hey, do you want to go out? No, I can't. I don't know how I feel. And then, you know, people assume that, well, you just don't like me. No, if I didn't like you, I wouldn't be your friend. I can't commit to things sometimes. When we don't commit to something, or when we have to cancel plans, it's not about you. It's really not. If I made plans with you, I like you quite a bit. Or it wouldn't bother because you wouldn't be worth my time. I have a very finite amount of energy. We all have a finite amount of time. I have a finite amount of energy to boot. If I don't like you, I'm not going to waste my time making plans with you. Sorry. And I will say that is one of the few silver linings to my situation. I can get out of anything with very little judgment from other people. But it is hard for us to make plans. It is hard for us to keep plans. And we know you don't understand. Those of us who do post, we're just looking for some fellowship and some friendship. For goodness sakes, like I said, my social life for a long time was my doctor's appointments. That's really kind of sad. And it's not like I had any of those women's phone numbers and called them. It was just how we would interact when I was in the office. Sometimes we just need a sounding block. Hell, sometimes I just kind of need to scream into the void. Sometimes we just want to feel normal. Well, that's really kind of a weird thought. I don't see a lot of people in real life. Social media is pretty much my social life. Make of that what you will. But we need an outlet. We need to be seen and heard. We need to make sure we're not being forgotten about. Because, y'all, I got to tell you, I hesitate to use the word friendships. My social circle changed drastically after my health issues because people would get so just nasty about it. Oh my God, you're such a flake. I'm sorry that my chronic condition is so inconvenient for you. Big apologies. Yeah, no, I really wasn't sorry. It always pissed me off. I thought that was just so, and if you have plans with someone who has health issues and they have to cancel, instead of making a big production about it, why don't you say, gosh, you know what? I'm sorry you don't feel good. How about I'll go and pick up your favorite dinner and I'll just come over and hang out and then go over and be a low maintenance guest. Wait on them, if anything. I don't like to entertain in my house. I don't like people in my space. And part of that is I need to be able to retreat. And this very small handful of people that I'm comfortable having in my space are this very small handful of people who can come over and we can just sit there in quiet companionship. We don't have to talk. We don't have to do something. We don't have to fill the space. They can just keep me company and do it quietly because sometimes I don't want it. Sometimes I just don't have anything to say. Because if you don't have anything nice to say, then don't say nothing at all. So if I can't be positive, I'm just going to be quiet. Anyway, I could rant on this all night, but I'm exhausted, so I'm not gonna. I need to go. I need to. I gotta try to get to bed early tonight. So I hope you all have a great evening. I will be back Friday at. I almost said 5 o'clock Alaska time. No, 7 o'clock Central. Look, if you have any questions about this stuff, drop me a line. I try to be very responsive, and truly, this is. I do these videos because when I was first diagnosed, I didn't have anybody to look to that would just say, yeah, okay, you got kind of a crappy deal, but what are you going to do about it? You've got it, and I try to talk about these are things that I do to cope. These are things that I do to keep myself as upbeat and as positive as possible. Anyway, I'm going off on a tangent. You guys take care. I'll be back Friday. Yeah, Friday. Thanks.